Good evening and welcome to the Monday, June 12, 2017 Board of Education meeting. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
With the concurrence of the board, I actually want to add one thing to the agenda, if we can, under board agenda. Item 9.4 would be to act on proposed rescissions that Dr. Freeman will bring forward. Can we add that to the agenda, please? Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. With the board's permission, I would like to move item 7, the student representatives, up to this point in the meeting. I assume you might have other things maybe going
prepare
on.
for.
Are finals done or not quite?
Not quite.
All right. Well, let's get you out of here then. So for two of you, this is your last meeting. So we obviously want to thank you and miss you. We'll miss you moving forward. But why don't you go ahead with your reports, and then we'll respond.
Excellent. So at the Calvin Leet School, the 3rd and 4th grade students had their May at the spring music concert, where they sang songs and played some percussion instruments and had a good time. And then the classes all went on field trips. So the 2nd graders went to Chaffinch Island. The 1st graders went to the Beardsley Zoo. The kindergarten class went to the Guilford Free Library. And the 3rd grade students visited the Peabody Museum. And the Leet community participated in a jump-a-thon in May, and they raised over $6,500 for the American Heart Association. And then at Guilford Lakes, High Touch, High Tech came to the school and helped students learn about sound. So one of the cool things is that they used a slinky to kind of mimic sound waves. And then the 2nd graders had a tour of the Green, which was led by my godfather, Joel Helander, the town historian. And they had a scavenger hunt to see where places were and learned about the buildings and the history of the Green. And then there was the Preschool Field Day, which the 4th grade students led activities for the preschoolers. And then there was the actual field day, which I hear was postponed many times because of the weather. But they all had a good time there. And then Officer Dennison is retiring from Guilford Lakes.
At Melissa Jones, they also had a great field day, which occurred on June 2nd. The weather was perfect, the sun was out, and the kids just had a really great time on an active day. And also the 4th graders presented their newly designed playgrounds to the 3rd graders. And so the 4th graders kind of worked in teams to design and build a playground using math principles and math skills to have ideas for they want the new playground to be. And then kindergarten classes invited their parents to the school to share their opinions, or their opinion writing pieces. And so they wrote letters to parents, teachers, and friends trying to convince them about something. I think one of them that was mentioned was a kid trying to get a guinea pig and trying to convince their parents to let them do that. And then there was
Is that really something you want to do?
And then there was a very successful talent show that was produced by students featuring K through 4 students at Melissa Jones. And they also reflected and appreciated the school year as it's coming to a close. And young mentees, who I believe are in 1st grade, sent thank yous to the older mentor students who are stepping up to Baldwin. And then at Cox, 3rd graders just completed a math unit where they created and tested bridge types and which bridge would hold the most weight. And so they all researched and planned blueprints and created 3D bridges to test the strength of each. And they also held their first annual music review titled American Heart, which was directed by Mr. Shames. And the entire student body participated, and it got great reviews from the parents. And the 4th graders also took part in their annual 4th grade picnic and stepping up ceremony at Bishop's Orchards.
And from Baldwin Middle School, all the students are getting ready for the end of the year. The incoming grade 5 presentation will be held with an information meeting on May 25th at Baldwin Middle School. And the annual sixth grade Stepping Up ceremony will be held on June 15th at 9:15 at Baldwin Middle School. From Adams Middle School, the 24 seventh graders were recently inducted into the National Junior Honor Society on May 25th. The seventh grade presented results from their Global Issues project to a group of over 90 students and teachers. The eighth grade dinner dance was on June 9th, and the eighth graders look forward to the closing celebration on Wednesday and a barbecue on Thursday to close out the year.
And then for the high school, senior prom was a success. The rain held out for pictures, which was nice. And the ride to prom was absolutely gorgeous because the sun was shining through all these clouds, and it was beautiful. And then project graduation will be after graduation. We'll get to the school at 8:45, leave by 9, and then go to the Navy base in Groton, I think. And they're just amazing activities that we'll get to do there, and smoothies, which I'm excited about. And then Voyages and Vessels had our launch day. It got pushed back a few days, but that was last week on Wednesday. And I made a paddle board because I was part of the class, and it was the most amazing experience that I've had. I had no woodworking experience at all, and then I made this paddle board. Don't even know where that came from. And the people in the class are just incredible because they fly under the radar, and you kind of expect them to be one way, but then they all just surprise you with these incredible talents. So that was a really fun time.
Also at GHS, the IB program just welcomed 20 diploma students and 30 certificate students, and they had a dinner, I believe, in the Commons, and it went very well. And also, like Danielle was saying before, graduation is coming up on Thursday. I believe we also have a rehearsal on Wednesday and Thursday to get ready for it. And so everyone is very excited for that ceremony. And then also our track team had some great successes lately. And Meredith Bloss, a GHS, I believe, sophomore, broke the GHS record for the 3,200 meter dash. Or not dash, I guess that's kind of long. And
Meredith it was.
and Jordan Lembo Fry also was just a state champion in the 100 meter dash. That is a dash, I know that for sure. So we're very impressed with their accomplishments.
Also at JHS, we recently hosted the State Robotics Championships, and Apple Pie Robotics made it into the Final Four. We've also recently had the chorus, orchestra, and band concerts, all of which went extremely well. And one of the things we're most proud of at GHS is our musical department. And we recently got nominated. The musical Sweeney Todd recently got nominated for 19 awards, and we ended up winning 10 of those awards, including Best Play.
That's fantastic.
Oh, yeah, that was outstanding. I was at the whatever you call it, the ceremony, the award ceremony in Waterbury, and they kept saying Guilford. Guilford. And, it was just a really fun event. It was a great play too.
Yeah, a little dark,
a little dark, but it was very well done. So, questions, comments? I've asked for our two seniors. I've asked Dr. Myers and Mrs. Renner to give you don't get much of being on the board. You don't get a parking place. You don't get a kick on your grades or anything. But we do have great value for what you've done and what you've contributed to the board, and so we do want to offer just a modest acknowledgement of that.
Danielle Ott. This is a certificate of recognition presented on behalf of our board, thanking you for your service, attending our meetings and giving your insight of what the student body is thinking and feeling. It's always a reminder for us of why we're here. We'd like to thank you for all of your hard work over the past year. And I'd also like to say a few words about Danielle, if I may. Let you hold that. There's no greater satisfaction than to give your time and talents to others. Danielle Ott exemplifies this. As the recipient of Connecticut's Secretary of the State Award and the Carl A. Balistraci Jr. Humanitarian Award, Danielle demonstrates exemplary service and leadership to our schools and community. Her charitable and compassionate spirit resonates throughout our student body and the Guilford community. As co-chair of DAY, Developmental Assets for Youth, she mobilized and led a coalition of Guilford youth against substance abuse through the Color Purple Project. This included organizing a community-wide 5K color run and a school-wide Chris Herring Color Purple assembly, putting forth a compelling anti-substance abuse message. Danielle spends hours every week using her study hall time to assist a developmentally disabled, nonverbal student with her communication obstacles. Admirable. Her keen insight into the needs of others brings a valuable perspective to our board's student voice. While making time for the needs of many, Danielle continues to successfully navigate her competitive academic schedule. She's a quality individual both in and outside the classroom, and her contributions to a healthy school community environment are second to none. Danielle, thank you very much.
Greg. We're going to miss you guys, and our loss is the college's benefit, so that gives us some solace. Greg Sullivan's participation and leadership in activities and his tremendous contributions to them have been exemplary. Greg's consistent selection to our highest honors list mirrors Greg's level of achievement in the classroom. Greg has received numerous commendations for academic excellence in multiple academic disciplines, and his selection into our National Honor Society mirrors this. Greg has also excelled outside the classroom. His participation with our high school's varsity basketball and soccer teams, and his distinction of being designated as a scholar athlete is admirable as well. Greg's selection as our high school student rep to the Board of Education for each of the past 3 years demonstrates the admiration and respect that our school community and his peers have for him. Greg Sullivan has distinguished himself as one of the strongest leaders of a senior class that I've encountered. He lives his life believing in service above self. And one only has to look at the hundreds of hours of community service that distinguish him from others. Greg's work with our Unified Sports Program and his mission trip to Haiti with peer ministry speaks volumes of his character. His leadership and collaborative skills are attributes that will contribute positively and purposely for all communities. In addition to the certificate of recognition, the board wants to offer you a small gift, and Mrs. Renner has the same for you, Danielle. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Want them standing up? Or? Sure. Well, sure. Like, you want them standing up or no? Yeah. Standing up. All right. Sure.
Yeah, hold her.
Sounds good.
So in a not at all coincidental component of this as well, every year the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, which is the statewide group that we belong to, chooses to honor 2 student leaders in each of the high schools in its member districts. And as I say, not coincidentally, you 2 have been selected to be honored with the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education Student Leadership Award. I'm just going to read the letter from the president and the executive director. Congratulations for being chosen to receive CABE's Student Leadership Award. Leadership is a quality that is hard to define but remains critical to our society. CABE has developed criteria that help to define leadership. Your principal received a list of those criteria and was asked to name Guilford High School students who met them. Your principal considers you such a school leader. And we're pleased to present you, on behalf of the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, with our 21st Annual CABE Student Leadership Award. So congratulations. And I do want to, they have spent really hundreds of hours in representing the perspective of students, high school students in particular, but also students from the other schools. And I think I speak for the entire board. What their contribution in some of the issues that we've looked at this year, the substance abuse issues, dress code, homework, really the spectrum of things that we work on, your input has really been invaluable. And I think you've been thoughtful, and we have no doubt that we are going to read and see great things about you moving forward. And I just want to thank you on behalf of the entire board and wish you the best of luck. Not that you're going to need it, because you've made really your success and your leadership, and we are grateful for it. And Guilford is the richer because of people like you who have decided to sacrifice some time and sacrifice some hours, but really to try to make this a better community. So thank you on behalf of all of us. So I guess you're excused. We'll see you at graduation.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, those. Oh, great. Yeah, his face.
Those are the words.
You're back.
So I guess we'll look for some more student reps at some point, but not tonight. So why don't we, is there anything pressing on the agenda? Is there anybody here? There's not very many other people here, are there? So why don't we just go back to the order on the agenda then? Item 3 on the agenda is action on the minutes. There's May 8th regular special meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second?
What was this special meeting?
CIA meeting.
Oh, right, okay. We should start calling that CIA meeting or something. Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Are any corrections, changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 3.2, May 8 regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Corrections?
I do have a correction on page 5, under communications, the second paragraph. Dr. Balistragi noted that the please strike operations committee and replace it with administration. Has discussed facility fees and referred it to the policy committee for review. And then while the policy committee does not set the fees, this committee, please strike, develops the concept of and put reviews how fees are applied with the administration. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? No. Okay, with that correction, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. May 10th, which is the first of 2 special meetings with the representatives relating to the energy performance contract, and I think that was technically a Board of Education meeting.
They were noticed as
Yeah,
Board
they
of
were
Ed.
noticed as our meeting. So is there a motion to approve the May 10 minutes?
So moved?
Second? I guess I can second it. I was there.
I was there too.
Yeah, you were there. Okay. All in favor of the motion?
I'm sorry, can I just make a correction?
Sure.
Because it looks like we are missing some people from it. I was at that meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone else
Dr.
is
Moore,
missing.
Dr. Moore was,
Yes, he's
Yes,
listed.
Chris was there.
okay. Any other corrections on those then, May 10th? All right, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, May 11th?
Abstain.
Yeah. Yeah, May 11th, I think everybody attended on the 10th except for Mr. Sands was at both of them, and so I'm not sure that we even need to approve May 11th. I think we didn't have a quorum there at that.
That's a good point.
That was just an informational meeting, as it turned out. We did have a quorum at the May 11th or May 10th meeting. So I think there's really no reason to approve those minutes since we didn't have anybody there other than
None of
Mr.
us.
Sands. So I think we can, if the minutes can just reflect, the draft minutes are fine, but the minutes can just reflect that since we didn't have a quorum there.
There's no vote
there's no
taken
need
to approve?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. And then May 22nd, item 3.5, is there a motion to approve those minutes? Changes, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 4 on the agenda, public forum for topics on the board agenda. Anybody? No? Mr. Sands, item 5, you did review the expenditures for May?
Yes.
Okay. And I know they were discussed in some length in the operations committee, but are there any highlights that you would like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. Okay, the expenditures for the month of May were $3,495,115.84. Expenditures and encumbrances through the end of May were 82.14% of the budget. That compares to 81.00% in the previous year. It's going to be a close run thing, but at the moment it appears that we will be within budget and there may even be a small surplus. However, that's kind of hard to forecast at this stage. We went over in detail several accounts, and we also reviewed in the operations committee in significant detail several of the items on warrants. So I think that the numbers as presented and the financials as presented seem to be a good representation of the month.
Okay. So is that a motion to approve the expenditures for the month of May?
It is such a motion.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 6, communications. Anybody? Do you have any?
No.
It's been quiet.
Yes.
That time of year.
It is. What, people aren't thinking about the Board of Education right now? Shocking. We did item 7, item 8. Dr. Freeman.
Yeah, and our report will be brief tonight. So on May 17th to 19th, Dr. Keene and I had the opportunity to attend IFL's annual conference. The focus this year was designing for difference, provoking student voice, agency, and deeper learning. And I think from the work that we've shared with you, the board will recognize just from the title how closely aligned to the work that we've been engaging in IFL's focus was this year. We spent 3 days. All of the fellows who have been working with us in Guilford were in attendance. We were able to work with them. We were able to work with some other national figures. I wanted to invite Dr. Keene to give you a little more detail on the depth of work that we engaged in over those 3 days.
So some of the people that we were able to work with were Dr. Ron Ferguson from Harvard, Peg Smith from the University of Pittsburgh. There was a gentleman from San Francisco State University who actually was our keynote speaker. But really, all of our work was about refocusing our thoughts and ideas through the eyes of students, which was very interesting. And it is a lot of research has gone on. Specifically, I worked with using formative assessments in mathematics and designing for voice and student agency through task design and science. Paul and I together really worked on a session about coherence, making everything fit together so that it is not disjointed, and really thinking about cultural relevant language and how we treat kids and provide opportunities for productive struggle. In your folder for tonight, I did put a copy of the content-focused coaching brochure. It is a new publication. I wanted to make sure you had it because we are mentioned in it as one of the districts that have implemented content-focused coaching well. It is really a description of the model. Many of you will know, but it's kind of nice to see it in black and white because it is an intensive, individualized professional learning experience for all of Guilford teachers, grades K through 6 in literacy, and grades 7 and 8, 6, 7, and 8 in mathematics. And we're hoping to expand that work in mathematics this school year. So you're going to see a lot of pieces in why we do what we do. And hopefully some of these words will be able to clarify any questions you have, or, you know, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to send me an email and we can talk more about it. But this really gets back to the reason for coaching, and we saw a lot of this going on at the conference.
And to take my report a little bit out of order, we spent a good portion of one of those days working with Allison Escher. She is one of the fellows at IFL who will be joining us here in town in August to work with our leadership team during our administrative retreat. So with Allison, we've really sort of taken the work that we did last year, the focus on the high leverage practices and what we've brought to the schools. Ann and I were able to report back to Allison the work that we've engaged in here. We went over our rigor review schedule for the year, the work that we've done with our principals. We have asked her to review the 3 latest Our Direction publications, to look at the video of students in classes. And as she joins us, she will be focusing this summer on how principals, through their work, can maintain and strengthen and further the work using those high leverage practices to maintain the level of expectation, the level of quality that we're looking for in the classroom. And so we are sort of looping back on ourselves with the focus that we have engaged in this year, bringing IFL back in here locally to continue that work and to really strengthen the principals' leadership work around those instructional practices. A second day of our 3-day retreat, we briefed this board a few weeks back on the step work that we're looking at, ways to strengthen our PLC practice. Since we have updated you, Jason Stricker from Inside Education spent half a day with our leadership team, and he will be coming back to our summer retreat as well, where we're going to really be looking at both the structure of PLCs in the school district and the practices within those PLCs. So how do we really leverage the teacher time that they spend together to be the rich quality professional development that we are really expecting of those principals. And then the third day will be, of those teachers rather, and then the third day will be a day that we're working together on some of our practical, pragmatic components. And from that day, we will have our first draft of the priorities and the initiatives that we'd like to bring forward for your approval as we begin planning and launching next school year. So we're really, one, we were very excited about the work that we had on the table and that we engaged in this year. We were very excited to find IFL in such close alignment with that work and to be able to go and work on it there with them, and now to have them and Inside Education come back and continue at this level. We're just really feeling good about the instructional work that's happening at the school level and wanted to share those two pieces with you. And I'll extend Ann's invitation again. Happy to answer questions or engage in any conversation about that as that work unfolds. I know we'll talk about that more during executive session tonight as well, or at least I'll talk about it.
Questions? Comments? Okay. Well, I'm sure we will be talking about it more. But.
The last item that I do want to bring your attention to, I'd like to share this with the board and with the community. I'd like to thank GFFE. We met with representatives from GFFE over the summer and really wanted to reinvigorate the staff's excitement for the grant writing process that GFFE offers. Representatives from GFFE visited every one of our 7 schools this year, went to a faculty meeting, talked about the work that they do, talked about the process of grant writing. They have worked to streamline that process of grant writing, and Dr. Keene has been an important part of that. We want more teachers thinking creatively and offering ideas that might possibly be funded by GFFE. A part of that this year, and for the first time ever, we offered the Superintendent's Challenge. So as teachers or community members or anybody interested in education wrote a grant and applied to GFFE this year, they could choose to be part of the Superintendent's Challenge as well. And so I have been invited into that screening process. I've been given the privilege of being able to select one of the grants that will be funded this year for the special recognition and some additional special support as being recognized as the Superintendent's Challenge grant recipient this year. So while I don't want to give it away, I have reviewed all of the grants. We have identified a winner. I'll be working with GFFE and how we release that information. There will be many grants supported and awarded this year, but there will be one, and there will be the first Superintendent's Challenge Award winner, and we're very excited about that. And once that goes public, I will bring that to the board's attention as well. I want to thank GFFE for the work, and it did generate interest. There were more applications written and submitted this year than I believe we've seen in some past years, and that's great news, and we appreciate GFFE's support.
That's terrific.
And that does conclude my report for the evening. Yeah, I said it would be brief.
Okay, let's go to the board agenda then. 9.1 is to act on 4 personnel items. First of all, there are 2 resignations for the purposes of retirement. April Frost, special education teacher at Adams, and Cheryl Shaw, French teacher also at Adams. Is there a motion that we ratify their resignations for the purpose of retirement? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay.
Aye.
And there are 2 appointments. By the way, why retirements don't translate into necessarily cost savings.
But look at what you see here tonight.
One is Scott McDowell to be the science department chair at Guilford High School, 20 years of experience. So you're hiring a top step teacher, but then again, he's the head of the science department. So you might want a top step teacher as the head of the science department.
Could we just get a little background on this gentleman? I mean, this is a very important hire.
Sure. I think Mr. Vicente has stepped out, but I met Mr. McDowell, and I can tell you that he has been a longtime teacher in Hamden High School, where he has served as, I believe, department chair. Most recently, he served as interim assistant principal and served very well in that position. It was an interim position, and the individual for whom he was filling in has returned. He is a teacher in the science department at Quinnipiac University. He comes with the highest recommendations from his principal, his supervisor at Quinnipiac University, and his superintendent with whom I work closely.
Excellent.
And we're excited about having him. I know that he has already had conversations with Dr. Keene about joining the Next Generation Science Standard and Curriculum revision work that will be taking place over the summer.
Good.
We're excited to have him on board.
Yeah, we need somebody there.
It was a very good hire. We were excited about that.
Good.
And the other is Emily Germain, who to be the elementary school math coach. So
Can't tell you how excited we are about this find.
And Dr. Keene looks pretty happy about this. What can you tell us about her?
Emily most recently was a curriculum coordinator in Massachusetts at a charter school, but the charter school was a lot like a public school. They took anyone. And she's been coordinating curriculum for the past 10 years there. She got married and relocated to North Haven, and is really, I think, going to add a lot to our work. She has an elementary background, teaching background. She has also contributed, she's done a lot of professional development herself. She's also contributed to a book. So we're really, really excited to have Emily join us.
Is this the last math coach, or are we still looking for another
one? Has been recommended. I believe her paperwork, her meeting with Human Resources is scheduled for this Wednesday, and that will conclude.
That's great.
Good work.
I will draw the board's attention to both of the retirements in front of you today. I'll note that one is in special education and one is in foreign language, world language, both shortage areas, and both will be difficult to fill with low levels of experience. So we'll be looking, there may be experienced hires in both of these cases as well.
All right, so is there a motion to ratify the appointment of Mr. McDowell and Ms. Germain?
So moved?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. 9.2 is to act on the textbook recommendation relating to statistics, yeah, Stats in Your World, second edition. We were presented with this last meeting. I know it was available for review at the central offices for the last month. Have you received any comments about it?
No.
Okay. Do people have questions on this? Or is there just a motion that we approve it?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. 9.3 is phrased recommendation to the Board of Selectmen for energy performance contract. And we did talk about this at some length in the Operations Committee meeting. We've talked about it. Mr. Sands has attended multiple meetings with the Standing Building Committee and also with joint meetings with the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Education.
And your most recent untelevised workshop meeting, this was on that agenda for a significant amount of time as well.
That's true. Mr. Sands and I also went to the last Standing Building Committee meeting. And I guess it would be maybe just take a minute to just lay out what this is about so the people that are interested in it can offer their observations. The heart of this is that if we went out to bid and have had multiple proposals, and the one company that was the Standing Building Committee decided to focus on and get a more detailed quote from. But in a sentence, if I can do this in a sentence, the company named Johnson Controls would coordinate making energy improvements at town and school buildings cooperatively. And I think when people talk about, by the way, doing cooperative projects between the town and the Board of Ed, that this would be one of them, because it would be a kind of an integrated series of projects. But effectively, in a sentence, the theory of this is that if we enter into an agreement to pay Johnson Controls a certain amount of money, then Johnson Controls will, in exchange for that, make certain specific energy improvements to the 7 buildings, really 6, not very many here at the high school, but more in some of the other school buildings and also other town buildings. And the cost of doing those improvements would effectively be funded out of energy savings. I mean, I think that's in a sentence what the theory is. I mean, is that fair, Mr. Sands?
Yes.
Okay. Now, having said that in a really simple way, it's not so simple. The contract, the project is a very complicated project. It is not something that at least our board, we do statistics textbooks. That's what we do. We do math coaches. This is a little out of our area, and so I think we've been very, very careful about trying to make sure that it makes sense, that it's responsible. To that effect, we did, Mr. Sands and I did go to the Standing Building Committee meeting and spent quite a couple of hours, I think, really talking about several talking about, some of the best case, worst case scenarios. Why does this make sense? What about this contingency? What about that contingency? And I will say the Standing Building Committee is very favorable to the concept of this, that the structure, which seems unusual to us, isn't so unusual, and if the federal government is doing it, the state government is doing it, towns have done it, but it's still nonetheless a new thing for us, and I think that we are trying to be extremely careful about making sure that if this is a project that we would go forward with, that it does make economic sense for the town and is likely to generate savings rather than costs, right? So to that the Standing Building Committee had some significant questions, and I think that there are an extraordinary number of details in the contract, which is 120-something pages long, that refers back to a bid document or a proposal document that in itself is over 500 pages long, and it is going to require some care to go through this and to make sure that it does make sense, and that the promises that are made are actually promises that can be that will be achieved, and there is a way to compel achievement, if you will. I think that's something that we would be quite focused on. The Standing Building Committee moved it back to their July meeting because they wanted to see some language issues and how certain contingencies were addressed. I don't think, this is down here for an act on tonight. I don't think we should act on anything tonight. I think we need to see what Standing Building Committee says. We need to get the final version of the contract. And I do think we also have to talk with the town about whose project this is. Are we recommending to the Board of Selectmen to do this, or are we doing this? I think we have to do it cooperatively. I mean, the buildings are our buildings. We're statutorily in charge of the school buildings, so I think we have to be. This has to be a cooperative effort, and I'm pleased to say it has been. I think the town has really done a great job with this so far, and there has been no turf wars. There's been no, well, we want to do it this way, and you want to do it some other way. There's been nothing like that. It's really been at a much more thoughtful level, and I think it is such an unusual thing. It is not statistics textbooks. We really want to make sure that it's being done the right way, and it does. If we go down this road, that it does make sense, and maybe it doesn't. We'll see. I think, I want to recognize Mr. Bowden has done a lot of work on this, and I think has protected our interests very effectively. I think Mr. Gurnham has spent a lot of time on this, and he sees this as a way to get at some maintenance and upkeep issues that would have a hard time making it to the top 10, if you will. Right. But because they generate savings from energy use, that this is a way to finance those improvements that has a no net negative impact on the taxpayers and on our operations. So that's kind of where we are. I think we're trying to be very, very, very careful. Everybody is. The town is. The Board of Ed is, and the Standing Building Committee. And I think we'll just report back. We'll continue to work on it. And I'll maybe call Mr. Mazza and see what he thinks about this too. But do you want to add something?
Yeah, I think that as a result of some of the discussions at the Standing Building Committee and subsequently at the Operations Committee here, it became clear that there are some contingencies that were risks that we were not comfortable taking. And so steps are being taken to eliminate those contingencies. And these are specifically relating to two areas. One, the inclusion of significant solar projects as part of this overall energy savings package. That is contingent on us receiving various state and federal incentive grants relating to the projects. Without those grants, the projects are economically not attractive. And so it was the feeling of the Standing Building Committee and also of the Operations Committee here that before we included those projects in the overall proposal, we should try and pin down whether we're going to get these incentives or not. And Johnson Controls has told us that they can, in fact, go ahead and do that. And we said, well, then let's not wait. Let's go do that. So that's one of the things that we're trying to get pinned down by the July meeting. And the other is the question of how this would be financed. It would be financed through not through a bond, but through a combination of a municipal loan and a municipal lease. And so we've asked that an RFP be put out for this financing to make sure that the financing is in fact available and at the kind of rates that we've been quoted. And those rates, by the way, are quite favorable. And I think we will also have some answers there so that when we take this up next month, several of the uncertainties that we're currently facing will hopefully be resolved. And obviously there's a lot of issues in the contract, and that remains to be worked, but the lawyers are going to work on that in the next month. So I think that there's more to come. Personally, I've been working with this now for, I guess, 18 months, and I think it does look very interesting, and assuming we can get some of these contingencies eliminated, could be a very favorable thing for the board and for the town. But more to come.
Anybody have questions, comments? Okay, well, we'll carry it over to the July meeting, and I think it really needs to be something, I don't know, well, let me think about how it needs to be phrased. I don't think we're recommending to the Board of Selectmen. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we can work on language.
Okay. 9.4, the new agenda item is to rescind two non-renewals, one of Caitlin Clark, who's a first grade teacher at Jones. The other is Tucker Regan, who is a social worker at Baldwin. Is there a motion to rescind those non-renewals?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 10 is committee reports. Dr. Balistrasi, anything on policy?
The policy committee will be meeting in 2 weeks, and we expect we'll probably have 1 or 2 special meetings over the summer to go over new items that come out of the legislative session. So we will, in 2 weeks, be discussing, among other things, the wellness policy. The Wellness Committee met several times this year, and per new statute, we need to review the wellness policy every 3 years, starting this year. So that policy was reviewed and updated. I must say that the Wellness Committee 5-6 years ago, I'm trying to remember, did a what I would call an overhaul to that policy. These updates done within this last year are quite minor, mostly because of all the great work the committee did 5 or 6 years ago. I don't know if Mr. Bowden has anything to add, but that's kind of where we're at.
That's the primary.
Yeah.
That's good.
Great.
Okay. Operations Committee?
We had a very positive meeting. We found that the food service program is ending the year in very strong financial condition. Really good participation among the students purchasing meals, so that was great. We also had our periodic update on our medical claims from our representative from Milliman, and we found that our claims, the performance has been good this year. Everything's very favorable. The average claims are down. We did also find that the premium for next year for our stop-loss insurance, which is the sort of traditional insurance we have for the very high-cost claims, is going to go up significantly in price, but it's still definitely worth having based on all the data that we've seen. So that was productive. And as soon as the schools close, our facilities people are going to hit the ground running with a lot of projects, which include the windows and doors at Baldwin, the roof at Jones, working in Adams to rework some space for pupil services for the in-house special education program that's going in there.
Those are the big ones.
Those are the big ones.
And I guess this is the place we ought to note that we don't have any better idea about what the state budget is going to look like for Guilford than we did in January.
Months ago, yeah.
Right? I mean, really, we don't.
Yeah.
Well, that's because the people in Hartford don't have any better
Well, apparently.
They're not in Hartford anymore.
Right.
That's right. They're out there.
Session's over.
That's right.
So I don't know. Are they going to have a budget by July 1st? I don't know. I don't know. It is a just compare the process they follow to the process we in little old Guilford follow. I mean, it's whatever. I'm just whining. We can move on. Anything else on operations?
No.
Okay. The Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Committee, Dr. Moore's not here, but anybody report that we want to make from that?
We met last month and learned about the next generation science standards, which were interesting and look forward to hearing more about. We don't have workshop meetings over the summer, or July and August, I guess. And so we will,
Meet again in October, I
I
believe.
think so is the first time.
Okay. Good. Town committee liaisons, anything town committee-wise?
And the acquisition committee met and did not discuss anything pertinent to this group.
Okay.
We had a very positive pension committee meeting. The pension committee has been pursuing, the portfolio has been pursuing a lower risk strategy in the current market, and in the last couple of months, this strategy has started to pay some real dividends, and the results for the year have been very pleasing.
Good.
So I'm happy to report that things are looking up on the pension front.
Good. Okay, that's great. And then Dr. Moore is the Learn Board of Director Liaison, and he texted me, he said he was unable to get here because of a family issue.
I can just share briefly,
Sure.
but I serve on the executive committee of the Board of Directors for Learn. I was able to participate in Dr. Howley's annual evaluation. Since Dr. Howley has joined Learn, she has been doing exceptional work. She's revamping the organization. They're doing quality work, and they're moving ahead really well. I think Learn is becoming a real regional player in professional development opportunities, and we've already had been able to take greater advantage of that relationship. So I don't go to the regular Board of Director meetings, but I know that those board members have been very happy with the work that's been coming out of Learn.
Great. Okay. Item 11, public questions. Anybody? All right. Item 12 is an executive session on Dr. Freeman's annual evaluation. Sure. Please, come on up here and just give us your name and address, please.
My name is Larry Rislow. I'm at 24 Long Hill Farm here in Guilford, and I'm a relatively new resident in Guilford. Moved here 2 months ago. I'm a professor, biomedical researcher at Yale, with a strong interest in education, involved in curriculum redesign at Yale. And I'm also an organizer of a group called CT Shoreline Indivisible, which is a nonpartisan, issues-based group with a progressive mindset. And here I'm as much gathering information for our efforts local here in Guilford, getting involved in the local politics, and education is a special interest of mine. So I'm just here to learn about the various things that are going on, and if there's ways that getting messages out to the community is helpful, we are more than willing to look at whatever issues you might bring to our attention and try to get it out to our group. We have over 500 members in our group. Thank you, Donald Trump.
Well, thank you. Welcome to Guilford, first of all.
Thank you.
One thing you have to realize is that 2 months in Guilford is like
2 years.
Well, 2 years. I'm sorry. Well, even 2 years is that's like 20 seconds anywhere else in the world.
Exactly.
We have people of the original 13 or 17 families or whatever it is. Are still half of them are still in Guilford. So it's like any of us who came here in the last 50 years feel like we're newcomers. So, but that's okay. It's a terrific place, and sure you're going to love it. And we look forward to working with you or anybody else with your group to offer dialogue on any education issues. There's a lot happening in education, as you know. We are sort of chewing our collective fingernails to see what happens with the state, what happens with the federal government with respect to education. In the meantime, we're just going to keep trying to do the best we can to make sure that our children here get the best education that they can get.
We've had lots of discussion with Mr. Scanlon and Mr. Kennedy, and I wish I could give you words of encouragement, but
no, we've talked. No, it's going to be very difficult, but we do appreciate any support that the community gives us and any involvement that people would like to exercise. We certainly are very open and interested in making sure the community is engaged in especially our budget process, but also, the curricular decisions that we make, building-related decisions that we make. There's plenty of opportunities for substantive input, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, before we go into executive session, I just want to elaborate on an item that the student rep mentioned, and that was the IB International Baccalaureate kickoff dinner of last week. For me personally, as a pediatrician, this had a relatively short gestation. It began with some ideas 5 years ago, before Dr. Friedman came. And it was born, and it was nice to see the baby last week. It was interesting to me that the program of the 20 students who will be in the first IB group in the diploma program, 3 of them are children of board members, or in my case, a grandson of a board member. And indeed, it's all of the board members' children, with one exception, who are currently sophomores. The exception is a twin of somebody who is in the program.
My son.
And your son, right. The program was fascinating in that we were greeted at the door in French, and I had to strain to try to figure out what in the world was going on. It was attended by community members, by board members, by most of the students who will be in the program, all of the teachers and who will be teaching in the program, and you could sense their excitement as they described what they are doing. So I look forward to the next year and hearing about the educational progress that these kids and teachers are making.
Well, and this would be an appropriate place to note that you had a very large part in this program, even making it onto the conceptual radar 5 years ago. I remember the interview when Dr. Myers asked Dr. Freeman, so what do you think about IB? And Dr. Freeman said, I don't know, effectively. It wasn't quite that blunt, but it was close. It was close. It was,
well, in fairness, he said, I'll find out.
I'll find out about it, and if it makes sense, it's something we'll move forward with. And meanwhile, Mr. Masseni was kind of laying the groundwork over here, and so it all kind of coalesced together in a very bottom-up way. This wasn't something. I really like the decision-making process on this, and it's something that I think the board should really kind of try to emulate and model moving forward. And that is, this was a teacher-driven, faculty-driven. It wasn't something that we said, here's what you're going to do, and if you don't like it, too bad. That absolutely was not the model. It was the teachers look at it, get the training, see that it really is great. The students, really responded very favorably. Yeah. So I thought
And it wasn't ultimately a board meeting rescheduled for snow onto a Saturday morning where the teachers at the high school asked for the board's approval.
That's true.
It really was a learning process that led in the faculty of the high school asking for you to allow them to take this forward.
Yeah,
it was a great process.
Yeah, no, it's fabulous, and we're looking forward to it. I agree with what Dr. Myers said. The teachers are really enthusiastic about it. I think I was talking with Mr. Nasri, and I said to him, look, he's a French teacher. He was born in Morocco, raised in France. Kind of a pretty good candidate to be in the...
Teaches French and Arabic.
Mm-hmm. Teaches French and Arabic. We're still one of the handful of public schools in the United States that teaches Arabic. Mm-hmm. And he said, look, this is something, this is the future, and very excited about it. So,
and it's probably also important to note that this community provided the seed money for the first exploration of International Baccalaureate through GFFE. And I know we've spoken about GFFE a couple times tonight, but they're the ones that kind of went out on the limb and really provided the seed money for the first exploration and for the first set of training. So I think that goes a long way, too.
And I also think it's worth noting that it's being offered to the students as part of our portfolio invitationally in the same way that it was brought to the staff. There are schools that change and become IB schools, and every student is expected. We're offering it as another opportunity and another option among a a portfolio of options that are already here for the Guilford High School students, and I'm very excited about that. It's another route for students, but it's not something that is an expectation for all. We're going to continue to offer AP courses. We continue to offer strong electives and arts courses. It's another option that we're bringing to the students, and I'm very excited about that option.
Just want also, before we conclude, I just wanted to circle back to the retirements, because I think in the process of ratifying the resignations and appointments, we may have been remiss in thanking Mrs. Frost and Mrs. Shaw for several years of service. I mean, 17 years of service in Guilford and 20 years of service are pretty outstanding, and I think we just, I know they are appropriately thanked,
yes,
you know,
we'll make
when
sure
you,
that,
yes. But just from a board
that.
standpoint, I personally would like to thank them for their service.
I appreciate that. I'll make sure that they receive the board's appreciation.
Okay, with that, we have an executive session on Dr. Freeman's annual evaluation. We will not be voting on anything tonight, but I would entertain a motion that we go into executive session for the purposes of the superintendent's evaluation.
So, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So we will come into public session then, again, only for the purposes of adjournment, and there will be no further public votes this evening. Thank you. So we should probably go over the